there are multiple directions, and kind of we'll see which one of them end up emerging and being the dominant one, or it could be that we end up having different approaches, some of them useful for particular situations, and they're kind of domain specific. So you might end up having abstractions that work really well for bacterial system, for metabolic engineering in industry. Something else would work for in vivo therapies with RNA. You can have something else that works really well for organoids. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of kind of domain-specific approaches, and it's not going to be just one type of approach that's going to make sense for one size fits all. So, for example, I think this notion of very regimented kind of things that look like traditional computer science programs using well-characterized parts that give us logic circuits that operate very predictably and reliably, and those things are done from a high level to using a compiler that finds the best kind of devices and puts these genetic circuit devices together. I think that's definitely going to have its place, so that synthetic biologists would just be able to write these high-level programs that indicate exactly what they want to do. There will definitely be a room for that. The other thing you mentioned with respect to deep learning, that's going to play a bigger role, both at the sequence space, so finding out for the individual devices what is the best sequence to create reliable behavior. Whether it's from an RNA molecule, it could be a DNA molecule, could be certain aspects of the regulatory elements, whether promoters, genes, 5' UTRs, 3' UTRs, and so on. And I also think that deep learning has a tremendous role in circuit optimization. So not just on the individual devices, but how these devices can be brought together to create coherent systems. And that's at the single cell level. And then when you begin to think about multicellularity, how does that scale up? So how can we use both kind of more traditional computer science approaches, as well as artificial intelligence, deep learning approaches, to allow us to engineer programmable organoids? And maybe for those, we also need other kinds of abstractions that are more visual, right? So maybe I can indicate using some kind of a visual user interface what I want a liver organoid to look like, and how I want it to be connected to a pancreas or vasculature. So that in the same way that you think about engineering, cars or planes, there's really you're melding together different kinds of approaches, and I think the visual approach can end up being quite useful. I think that there's an opportunity for having the cells, do learning by themselves. So figure out ways by which we can actually engineer cells to learn how to be better performers of particular functions. So there's going to be an opportunity there, and who knows what the future holds. But I think it's going to be interesting, and I think ultimately we will have kind of domain-specific approaches, just like in the same way that right now there's not a single computer program that is used for everything, and there's constant evolution of programming languages and programming approaches, including deep learning. I envision, and they're domain-specific, I envision something similar to that happening with respect to synthetic biology.